Hello and welcome to Arsenal Domination, where I want to sort of talk about the perils of squad rotation and why actually I think Arsenal are doing that fairly well this season. Um, I say this really in the context of the game last night. Arsenal made significant changes to the side. Obviously, some of them were enforced. Declan Rice was ill, Trossard having a knock, Saliba not quite recovered yet, Timber getting a knock against Aston Villa, and that on top of other sort of problems, particularly at the back. The injuries sort of easing going forward, Gabriel Jesus back, for instance, but of course Max Dalman going out. Arsenal really in a position then where while some of these changes were enforced, Arteta was able to rest some players. I think he'd have wanted to have rested Declan Rice anyway. He would have wanted to rest Ewan Timber, and those sort of were forced on him. But Madueke came in for Saka. Gyökeres came back in up front. And we sort of saw him try to ease players back in. Now, I said in the build up to the game how Arsenal couldn't underestimate Bruges. They had really good home form. And there was sort of a lesson from the previous round where Manchester City made 10 changes against, albeit a better side than Leverkusen, than Bruges, but they made those changes and lost. But I think Chelsea are really the really good example of that at the moment. Chelsea a few weeks ago, everyone was talking about them as champions or potential champions. I didn't ever believe that. And I said so at the time. I said I thought they were building really, really nicely. They looked a couple of years away from me because they looked inexperienced. And they've tailed away. And I think one of the reasons they've really tailed away, apart from those things I just mentioned there, is the fact they've made several changes to their side. They made 3 or 4 changes to the side. They've made significant changes in game that haven't worked. And what that done, I think, is what that's done really is affect the balance of the side, and it's the chemistry in the side. And I think when you make too many changes, you can impact the chemistry of the side, and that's where you can impact the result. And I think that's particularly true of Arsenal because really the quality doesn't drop that much when you make rotational changes. Madueke's come in tonight, and he's obviously not as good as Saka, but you didn't necessarily notice a difference. And admittedly, that's partly because Saka's not in the best form, albeit not in the as well, bad a form as people say he is. But Gyökeres comes out, Havertz comes in. Hincapié, Mosquera showing what they can do at the back. But it is the chemistry thing. Now, Arsenal made plenty of changes again last night, and they won that game comfortably. And the connections didn't look horrific. There were elements of it. Gyökeres, I think, the prime example of that, didn't really quite have that connection with his teammates, which I think will come. But I do think that chemistry is really what's disrupted Arsenal in the last few weeks. Of course, Mosquera and Hincapié are not at the same level as Gabriel or Saliba. Of course, that's true. But I think it's been the chemistry that has impacted it more than anything else. And it is particularly true of defenders. You want a sort of consistency there at the back. But I do think Arteta has really got the rotation generally right this season. He's shown he can rotate. Brighton in the League Cup, another prime example of that. And I think that will continue over the season. And we've seen his in-game management improve and subs be earlier. And I think overall that really does bode well for the rest of Arsenal's season.